Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for the Data Storytelling series hosted by FineBI. I'm Louie and I'll be your host for this session. Now, data is everywhere, but having data is not the same as understanding it. Raw metrics and dashboards can tell us what is happening, but not always why it matters. That's where interpretations and storytelling come in. Whether you're a data analyst, a business leader, or someone simply passionate about making data meaningful, today's session is designed for you. Without further ado, let's get started. Now I'm gonna give the mic to Kyra. She'll be your instructor for the rest of our session.
So today we are going to focus on the customer behavior analysis and the background. And the background is actually like this, showing in this PowerPoint, this slide. You can see our background is that suppose now we have some user behavior data. And because user behavior data might be very different from industry to industry. So today we assume that we are actually maybe an operation manager of a e-commerce website, because nowadays the e-commerce develops so fast, and I think that's a very common industry we can use for analyze. So we have got some user behavior data, and today we're going to focus on the funnel chart. So in the funnel chart, the customers must have some stages before they actually purchase the product. So here we assume the process includes 4 stages as shows here. The four stages is, let me move to this one. The 4 stages is this one, click, view, add to cart, and purchase. So we assume now these are the 4 stages that already has been concluded in our data. So we can analyze for this data and maybe create a funnel chart to observe. These are 4 stages. And the analysis today the goal is to help like us, operations manager or product and marketing teams get hand of the current user behavior. And after that, maybe using the funnel chart to identify major funnel drop-off points. And finally, we hope that the dashboard will help us to derive some actionable optimization recommendations, maybe some product page, detail page optimization, or something else. So this is our goal today, and based on that, our objective actually here includes 3 aspects. So firstly, we will use some maybe KPI cards because we want to observe, we want to get hand of the current user behavior, some key indicators here. Maybe we want to check exactly how many users we have now in our website, and what is their bounce rate, their return rate. These 3 key indicators just help us to get hand of the current situation. And then the second part is now we want to find some problems. So we want to use the funnel chart to observe the 4 stages here. These are the 4 stages to observe their conversion path. And maybe you might think that some of the conversion path of some adjacent nodes is too low. So you might want to take some actions to optimize that conversion path. And finally, we will also do the retention and cohort analysis. Retention and cohort analysis also is very commonly used in the customer behavior analysis. And finally, I will also show how to do that in our FineBI. So this is our background and objective. And next, I will just break it one by one, because Even though that there are some universal definition of maybe the bounce rate, of the return rate, of the funnel chart, all the analysis actually is not a term created by ourselves. It's actually a very standard definition you can find online. But based on different situations, we might have some custom definitions. So here we also need to know if we want to do it in our dashboard exactly how to calculate the bounce rate, how to calculate the return rate, etc. So before we actually dive into the dashboard, get hands of the BI tool, I will firstly explain our explanation based on these objectives here. Okay. So firstly, let me explain the bounce rate. So bounce rate is a common metric for traffic quality that measures the share of sessions. So here, sessions with no meaningful interaction beyond initial hit. So especially for the e-commerce industry, for a web page, a user might view your product in a website many times. So a user might have many sessions, right? So here, our calculation standard is actually not based on one single user. We are going to calculate it based on the sessions. So in the left part is the universal definition of how to calculate the bounce rate. And you can see here, we often calculate it by, let me highlight it so you can see it. So normally the bounce rate will be calculated as the single page sessions divided by the total sessions. So the tricky part is here how to define the single page sessions based on our situation, based on our data. So before that, let me show you our data a little bit. Not that detailed, but a little bit to check what is our data is like. So we're going to use the Excel data for practice because this Excel data we can also send you right now and you can also use it later while I'm operating in the product. You can also follow me along. So we choose Excel data for convenience. So here you can see that in the data there will be user ID, right? User ID identify one single user and one user might have several sessions. Session 1, for example, this user has only one session, but in the single session, actually the user has different events. So like we introduced our stages, 4 stages: click, view, and then add to cart, and then purchase. So here in the 3 records of the single session, the user has clicked twice and viewed once, right? So this is our event type. And when this event happened, this is the time. And this is the time the user registered on the website. And this is the products the user are looking at, the category and the product ID. Okay, so this is the data. Not that complicated, but also very typical. We can use that for our analysis. So here, how to define our single page sessions. So here actually later we are going to define it as the sessions with only clicking because as you know clicking is the first stage in the 4 stages and we assume that if the user just click in a session and then do nothing, do no further interaction, just left, and then it will be counted as the sessions with only clicking, and it is the single page sessions we define here, and then divided by the total sessions so that we can calculate the bounce rate. Okay, this is the definition of the bounce rate. And the return rate also is very similar, but also a little bit different from the bounce rate. So what is return rate? Return rate is always used to monitor customer loyalty. Higher repurchase means stronger product market fit and better customer lifetime value. And its universal definition is like this. Share of customers who make another purchase means repurchase within a defined window, a defined time period after their first purchase. So normally its calculation is like this. Customers who purchase more than once twice, 3 times, 4 times, etc., more than once, and divide it by the customers who purchased, no matter it's once, 2 times, twice, or other times. So based on this definition and calculation, actually our calculation is consistent. It's consistent with this one. So we will use customers who purchased more than once divided by the customers who purchased. Okay. This is the return rate. So these two, bounce rate and return rate, are the definition of our first objective, the key indicators, bounce rate and return rate. As for the total user, I think we don't have to explain it here. It's just the total users of the website. Later we will do it in the BI tool. Okay, so this is the first part, key indicator. And the next part, funnel chart. The funnel chart, we want to observe the four-stage conversion rate. And the funnel charts always visualize a stepwise process. Here are these 4 stages and show how many users or sessions proceed as each stage. And its importance comes from both diagnostic power and actionability. So you see, from the universal definition side, we can use the funnel chart to see the conversion rate between sessions or users. So actually, these 2 standards, you can also do it. But in our analysis, I just want to adopt one standard. So here, actually, we are going to use the sessions. So this is the funnel chart, and it will display the sessions, how many sessions are there in each stage, and then the conversion rate of 2 adjacent stage. For example, here in the view stage is the second stage. There are 315 sessions, and the conversion rate from clicking to viewing is this 54 percentage. Okay, so this is the definition of our funnel chart. And after that, later we will do it. We will find some problems and we will talk them how to, do some actions based on the problems. Okay, these are the second objective, find problems. And the last one, we also want to do the retention and cohort analysis. So firstly, let me clear to you the meaning. Let me make you understand the meaning of the retention or the cohort analysis. So the retention table, it measures the percentage of users who are still active after a given time period. So active, how to measure the user is active or not. So the active definition is also various between different scenarios. For example, open the app, logged in the app or website, viewed a page, or made a purchase. How can you define the active? And given the time period, what is the time period? We want to observe it by day, by week, or by month. So actually, these are the 4 variables you can control. You can define your own scenario. And here, our calculation, the definition will be the time interval between user first event time and the registration on the website. So we think that after the user is registered on the website, and then if they make their first event time, we think this user is active now. The first event time don't necessarily to be purchase. It might be click, view, add to cart, or purchase. First event time and registration time interval. These 2 times are the time interval we're going to observe. And for the time granularity, this one you can also adjust by your data. Later, we will just in the BI dashboard, we will see how we can adjust this time granularity. Okay, this is the retention table. And lastly is the cohort analysis. So actually the retention table and cohort analysis, sometimes the definition, also the standard definition is very similar and they also combine with each other. And here, our cohort analysis, we're going to groups, users who share a common start event and track each group's behavior over time. So here you can see, here we also have got this term, a common start event. So how to, buy this one is not that fixed. So here, actually in our scenario, we will group clients by their first event year. Also here is the event year, not the purchase, not the click, but the event. After the click or view or add to cart or purchase is an event, their first event year. So it's like we have adopted this kind of methods to cohort the users, the time cohorts, users grouped by time of the first event. So these are actually all the definition or logic understanding of our definition. So this will build as a foundation to do the further analysis in FineBI because as long as we have data, the data must be a little bit transforming and a little bit calculation before we visualize it. So after we understand this meaning, we will know how to calculate, how to transform our data before we actually visualize it. So next, I will go to the FineBI product and visualize the data as I shown here, the three objectives. So here, I'm going to visit our demo site. So this is the demo site of the FineBI. You can also visit it if you want. Here, this is our demo site. You can also log in because you don't have to, pay or whatever to log in. You visit the website, and then it might require you to sign up for the website. You can sign up with your Google email address and then sign in to the website. So you can see the same page as me. Here, I am a status of already signed in. And here you can see this is actually the interface of our FineBI product here, FineBI product. And you can see here in the left menu, we have got directory, my analysis, and public data. So directory is after you finish your dashboard, you can share it to the directory so that others can also view your dashboard. But here, today our topic is going to create a dashboard from scratch. So actually we're going to use the second tab, My Analysis. So in FineBI, all your editing work will be done in My Analysis, whether a new dashboard, to modify a dashboard or delete would be in this tab, My Analysis. So here, I'm going to just create a new subject in this directory, in this All Analysis folder. I'm going to create a new subject. So subject, what is the subject? The subject, you can understand it as the container for your tables and charts and dashboards. All that analysis will be done within the subject. So what you need to do is to create a new subject right now. Okay, I'm going to create a new subject. And here is the URL. The website will direct me to the URL of this new subject I just created, and I need to select data. So my data, I'm using the Excel data, right, in my local. This Excel data actually is in my local, so I will just choose it from my local Excel. I've already, Louis will send the Excel data to the Zoom chat. If you want to use, you can also download it from the chat, save it to your local, and then upload it. So here, this is our data. We just check what is in the data. Okay, so here, this is the follow events. This is Excel name, the sheet name, and this is the table name, right? And these are all the data and fields. We can just click OK to load the data. So to load the data is to load the data into this subject. You can see this is a new subject. This is the name of this subject. I can also change it because I want to know what this subject is. So I'm going to use it as the customer behavior analysis. And then you can see this is the interface of this subject. You can see what is there. Here, let's take a look at the left bottom. There is a fixed tab, which is called data. So after you load data into the subject, all the data will be displayed here in the data tab. And of course, you can continue click this add. This is the add. Click this add to add more data to this analysis. That is also okay. But today we're going to use this single data. And in the middle part is what is the data is like. You see there is the field, this is the data and total records, how many data is there. And you can also change it from the detail display to the table structure. So you can also see the structure here. Okay, so this is data. And after we have loaded our data, so we can check if the data is suitable now, whether we can continue our analysis or we need to transform the data or do some data calculation before we choose a table or chart. So here, I'm going to do this one, the key indicator, maybe the total users. Firstly, total users. So total users, you can see here, we have the user ID. To get the total users, for example, if you use other BI tools or Excel, maybe, you know that sometimes, most of the time, we want to calculate the number of something. We will use a function like the count or count D. Count D. D is the distinct. So count D is the distinct count, and count is just count the records, right? So that's the count normally and the number of something. So here, similarly in FineBI, we also have that. So we'll just go into our chart and table part. I'm going to switch here. Now I'm in the data, I'm going to switch to this component. You can see it's a green icon here. Just switch the tab from data to component. So the component part is where we will create our tables and charts. And you can see its interface is like divided into three parts, 1, 2, 3. So in the left one, in the left section, there is the data. Because in this subject, we only have the funnel events. So only this data will displayed here, and these are all the fields it have. And in the second part here is where we can choose our chart type, where we can modify our table or chart property and style as some filters. And in this session is especially this one is the chart preview or table preview part. So here actually the component here, the name is the component. It's a default name. You can also change it later. Maybe here I'm going to change it here using this three dots, change it to, I'm going to use this component to create my total users. Okay. So one component can only create one table or one chart. If you need to create more, you can click this one, add. Add this green icon at the component. Okay, later we will add more. So here I'm going to create total users. So, before you do it in the BI dashboard, you might think firstly that what will be my final result? What is my prototype? So like if your team is very, very professional, you might even have a UI designer to define the layout, the color, the style of your dashboard first. So you can have a layout and maybe later the demo colleague will achieve it in FineBI. So here, similarly here, we already have a prototype of this dashboard actually. And here is our first goal, right? Total users, bounce rate, return rate. Here is our second goal, the funnel chart. And here is our third goal, customer retention and cohort analysis. So we will also do it by this prototype. So here I know that to achieve my total user, I want to display it as a KPI card. KPI card is also used to display some key indicator. Usually one indicator, very key indicator, you can use it by the KPI card. So now I'm going to choose the chart type, choose this one, 1, 2, 3. This is the KPI card type. Okay, I'm going to choose this one. And now I want to drag some data from the data section to my chart preview section. Like you can see here, drag field to automatically generate charts. But now my indicator actually is not calculated now because now I can only see what is the user ID and I want to calculate the number, total users, how many the users are there in this website. So here I'm going to do the calculation in the chart, in the table itself. So here I'm going to use this one, these three dots in the data section. There will be add calculation field. So this function enables us to do the calculation while we are creating the tables and the charts. It's unlike do the data pre-transforming before you do the tables and charts. So here, I'm going to give it a name, total users, and then the number of the users. So what function I can use here? It's like a formula editing page, right? What functions I can use? You can click here, this one, to expand all the functions we support in FineBI, expand it. And here we can actually use this one, use this aggregation function. We can use the count T or count D. So like I explained before, count T is to count all the records and count D is to count all the distinct count. Because now we want to count the number of the users. And in the data part, the user ID might be duplicate between different records, but that might be only one user, right? So here I'm going to use the count D, distinct count of the user ID field. So you can just two ways. You can just click or you can just type here. If you know the functions very well, you're familiar with that, you know what the function is, just type it and select it. Count the what field to count. I'm going to count the user ID. Okay, so this is the number of the total users and the field is the total user. So after I create a calculation field, the field will be also displayed here in the data section, but it's a little bit different because it will have an F icon in the right bottom corner. This means this is the calculation field. Okay, so I have got the field, just drag it to the data preview, chart preview part, and you can see the result here. So this is the KPI part. And next, if you want to change the style, you can use this one, graphic property, component style to change. For example, I can change the default style because now you can see the default style is like there is an image, a title, a number. So maybe I can also click this one, text. And then you can modify its preset format, or you can also custom by yourself, custom. Okay. So this is the style settings. I'm not going to go any deeper for this one. Okay, so this is the total user. And next, I want to calculate the bounce rate. So like we introduced before, the bounce rate. The bounce rate is single session pages divided by the total sessions, right? So now I'm going to define how to define this single page session. We already know the definition is that the session only includes the clicking. So this is the single session. And how to represent that in FineBI? So here, actually, I'm going to transform the data before I visualize it into a chart. So I'm going back to the FineBI and here, go back to my data part. I want to transform the data a little bit before I go to the component part. So I can go back to my data part. I want to calculate the session count. What is the session count? Because you see here, for this session, its ID is the same, but the three session actually includes different events. It includes clicking and viewing. So technically, from our definition, this is not a single page session because it also includes the viewing, not just the clicking. So we can here use our summary column. So you can see here, In our data part, we have all the operations here. This is like the transforming tool. You can use some visualization interface button you can use to transform your data. Now I'm going to use this one, summary column. This is the session count. I'm going to group it by the session ID, and I'm going to calculate the session ID. Here, the session ID, I'm going to use the count and not the discount, so that I can see that every single ID has only one record count. If the count result is one, just the one record. If the count result is two, three, that means we have many records, not just one. So, okay, and then you can see the changes here. We can get this new field I just add here, session count, and this, the data source part also records the steps. I have just done this one, and currently I'm at the result of this operation. So you can also check the data a little bit by this, drop down icon. So I can view the data. The session count result will be 4, 3, etc. If I search 1, you will also see there will be result 1, right? So here, every session, if this record, the session count is 1, then this record is actually defined as a single page session. So here, I want to give it a flag, whether it's like judge the session count, whether it's equals to 1 or not. So here, I'm going to do it. You can also do it, continue doing it in this interface using these tools, or you can also just directly go to the component part. Actually, both is okay. Sometimes whether to use the data transforming here or whether to use the data calculation here, sometimes it's up to you. Sometimes one result can be done through these two methods. So you can just choose one. Here, I choose to continue doing it in the calculation part here in our component part, and I will give it a new field, bounce flag here, a bounce flag to judge if the session count equals to 1 or not. If it is to 1, I will record the data as the bounce. If not, nothing. Okay. So again, add calculation field. This is the bounce flag. Oh, sorry. Here, this is the field name, bounce flag. If also this is a function. If you don't know it, you can also expand it to find some appropriate functions. If what field? If the session count. If the session count equals to 1, right? And here you cannot use this double quotes, right? Because it's not a string. It's a number. Then I will mark it as the bounce. If not, just nothing. Oh, here. So again, I will have this bounce flag here, and with also an F icon here is a calculation field. And now I want to create a new component. I'm going to create a new component here to make my bounce rate. So now that I have calculated the bounce flag so that I can just to calculate the bounce rate. The bounce rate should be the single page sessions divided by total sessions. So here we use these counts, and we use the count again, right? Earlier, when we count the total users, we use the count D because we want to count the distinct count. And now I want to count the bounce rate. Actually, I want to count all the records, not the single session, not marked by a single session ID. So I'm going to use the count, not the count D. So the tricky part is the first part here, how to calculate the single page session. Because I have already calculated the bounce flag. So if this bounce flag is null, that means this record is not a single page session. Then I will give the value now. So it will not be counted here. It will not be counted here. But if this bounce flag is not null, then I will give it a value, bounce, and then count how many bounces are there. This is our single page session, number of single page sessions. So like this, I'm going to just do it in the FineBI. Create calculation field again. I'm just directly create the bounce rate to count D to judge by the bounce flag is null or not. Here, this function we also use it very frequently in our FineBI is null to judge a text field is null or not. Bounce flag. If it is null, then I will give it null. Remember here, you must give it a null. You can't give it like a 0 or other things. If it's 0, it still have value and the count will just count this record into the bounce. If not, I can give it a bounce. Actually, you can give it bounce or 1 or 2. Actually, the value here is not that important because our count will count every value as long as it has a value. And divided by the total sessions, also count the total sessions. Actually, you can count the user ID, session ID actually is the same because count D is to count the records of your data. So no matter if you count the user ID or session ID is always equals to the records of the data. Suppose your data has 100 records and the count result of user ID will be 100. Session ID will also be 100. So that is the same actually. The result is the same. But to make us understand more easily, I will also use the session ID. So this is the total sessions bounce rate. Okay, again, here is the bounce rate. And similarly, I will choose the KPI card here, choose it. And drag the field to our preview area. And here, also the default style will be some icon here, a text, and the number, the calculation result of this bounce rate. So here, for this decimal, some rates, percentage. For the decimal, we want to display it as the percentage. So there will be a very helpful tip for you guys. You can click the field, this drop down icon, and change its value format here. Change its value format to percentage. 2 decimal place, 1 decimal place, you can choose maybe 0. So this will be 9%. Maybe 2 decimal. So this will be the 9.40%. Okay, so this is the bounce rate. Okay, so that is the bounce rate of also our first objective. And actually we have the return rate, we can also do it, but because the time is limited here, I will not just show you to how to calculate it in the FineBI, but I have attached all the steps in the slides. These are the steps that I do for the data. And then similarly, KPI card, drag the field, and then you can get the return rate. Okay, so this part I will just skip. Okay, so now that my first part is done, actually, remember, my first part is this one, total user, bounce rate, return rate. Okay, and then now I will move to my next part. And this is the funnel chart. And the funnel chart, okay, I will going to create a new component. I'm going to prepare it firstly, and then rename it as the funnel chart. And then funnel chart, the key part, the most important part is to calculate the bounce rate, right? Bounce rate. And as how we explained our definition before, now our conversion rate is based on the sessions, remember, sessions, not the users. So the conversion rate is the conversion rate between 2 adjacent stage. Click, view, add to cart, or purchase, 4 stages. Adjacent stage conversion rate. So I'm going to calculate by number of sessions in previous stage. and divided by the number of sessions in current stage. So these two is important, right? Actually, the number of sessions in current stage, I think we can calculate it right now. It's not that difficult because, earlier we have count the number of sessions. We use the count AGG, right? We use it before. Here, this one, this one. Actually, this is the same as we count the sessions before. So now actually the tricky part is the previous stage, number of sessions and previous stage, how to calculate that. So actually here is like the cross row calculation. Let me show you in FineBI first why we call it the cross row. Because, I want to display my data in the table first. I'm not in a hurry to change it to a chart because sometimes chart is not convenient for us to view the data itself. I'm going to use this table to see it clearly and then switch it to a chart. So here, I'm going to drag the event type. I want to check the number of sessions in each event type. So event type, right? And then I want to get the sessions of each stage, So here I can just use the count again, the session count, not the session count, the count again. If we do it one step by one step, I can also do it. Let me show you now. I want to get the total sessions. Okay, we use it again. We use the count again. So count again, session ID. This is the total sessions, and we drag it. So you can see here, actually, I have got, okay, add to cart has 86 sessions, and we can also descend it a little bit, custom sort maybe, or just a descent by the total sessions, descent. So this is our first stage, the sessions, second stage, the sessions. So we can get this current stage sessions very easily. The tricky part is the previous stage sessions. So here actually we are going to use a function which is called the window function. Here, this is the window function. Actually, the window function is widely used in some cross-row calculation. Like here, we are experiencing the cross-row because for the view, for this record, I want to get the previous stage value is this value, right? I want to get the value of the last row of the previous row. For the entry card also, I want to get this value. This is the previous row value. And then I can use the two values, divide by each other to get the rate, conversion rate. So here, how we write it? We will write it like this. As for the window function, actually, it's some kind of advanced function in FineBI. You might get some difficulty in understanding right now if you don't have used other BI tools before. But I think that's okay because our help documentation also is very well comprehensive. So later, after this webinar, you can refer to our help documentation to understand it more clearly. Here, I'm just going to use it at calculation field again. This is the previous stage sessions. I'm going to use the window. Window assumption also have several types: average, maximum, median. Here, I want to get the total sessions of the previous stage. So summation, I'm going to select this summation. And you can see here, our function has many parameters. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, many parameters. Now, I want to calculate the indicator I want to calculate is the sessions. So sessions, this is a session. Count AGG user ID or count AGG session ID. That is the same result actually. You can also change it to session ID. And then the second parameter is whether you want to group or not. Since here we don't want to group, so we just leave it as blank here. We use this bracket to leave it as blank. And the third parameter, I want to calculate the results after the data is descent by the number of sessions. So this is like we descend here. This is like we descend here. This is the result we just already descend, right? From the highest to the lowest. So here, I'm going to add it again to write the formula here. First parameter, count the total sessions. You can use the count, AGG, session ID, or user ID. Both is okay. I'm going to use the session ID again. Second parameter, group. I don't want to group. And third parameter is the descent or ascent, is sort, whether you want to sort before you count the result. So I want to sort by the sessions from the highest to the lowest. So count AGG the session ID, and then descent, and the parameter, the last parameter. The next parameter, because window function is used for cross row calculation, right? So what is the row index you want to calculate? Here, I want to get the previous row. Previous row, how we represent it here, we just use the -1 to -1. So this is the starting point, this is end point. From -1 to -1 is just the -1, so just the previous stage. So you can see, you can also change it to maybe -2, -2, -1. That is to calculate the previous two records cumulative value, right? So this one, you can also use it very flexibly. I'm just calculating the previous stage, okay? And we can see, okay, here we have got this field, drag it to observe. So here you can check in the table for the view. Okay, I have got the click stage sessions. For the edge card, I have got the view part sessions here. And now I just need to use this value divided by, use current sessions divided by the previous stage sessions so I can get the conversion rate. So next part is just to divide them to get the conversion rate. Okay, so choose our field. Current session is this one, right? Total sessions divided by the previous stage sessions. And we can also drag it to view the result first. So you can see here, for this stages is the result is what we want. But for this one, since click is the first stage, if we just calculate it, use this one, divided by an empty value by a null value, and we will get this maximum big, right? And we don't want to display it like this. Maybe I just want to display it as empty, like here, this display problem. So to solve that here, we can use the if is now again to judge. So here you can see if the sessions of previous event, that is the stage is the click, and then we will just leave it, display it as nothing, or I will just count it. I will just calculate it by my count logic. So I'm going to change this conversion rate a little bit, change it here, modify, change it. Let me copy it first. If previous stage sessions is now again. Is now, then I will just leave this conversion rate as nothing. If not, I will use this same formula as I read before to calculate it. So here, this one is just going to resolve our display problem here. I don't want to display the maximum big here. Okay, so now that our data actually is ready, but its visualization type is this table. Now I just want to change it to a funnel chart. So funnel chart, we also have a type here. You can scroll down in the chart chart type, and you can see there will be a funnel chart. Just choose it, and then it will be like this funnel. But one problem is that our funnel chart will display the data like here. You see, first one is the actual chart, second is the click, purchase, and view. So we want to make it to normal. Like the first stage should be click and then view and then add to cart. So several ways to do that. You can, again, descend by the total sessions. So maybe here, maybe here. Choose this drop-down box again to here. You can see in the field setting, we don't have the descent, right? Remember in the table, we use the row title to descend, right? But here, actually in the field section here, in the drop box of this corresponding field, we don't have the sort like descend and ascend. So here we can choose to sort by the event here, to descend by total sessions or previous stage sessions. Here actually is the total sessions, right? Total sessions means the current sessions of the current event. Okay, so now we have displayed, and this is the label. This is the label of every stage. The label now shows the event name, the current session. We also want to display the conversion rate. So I will just drag this conversion rate field to the label part here, to the label part. Okay, so now that I have the conversion rate here, also changes format, the same as I introduced before, change the format to percentage. Okay, so this is briefly done, but for some more detailed style adjustment, like you want to maybe make this number bigger, this number smaller, or some size of font style setting, you can go to this label settings to custom by yourself, edit to custom by yourself. So you can define the text, the font size, the font, whether to bold, italic, or not. Okay, so for this one, I would also just leave it. So this is the funnel chart. But sometimes after we have finished the funnel chart, like we introduced before in our background, what is the importance? What is the why? Why we make this funnel chart? Suppose you are an operations manager, you must be familiar of whether the conversion rate of the funnel chart is healthy. So you must have a standard in your mind. Maybe that standard is different from industry to industry. But now you can find the stage or the node in the funnel chart with a low conversion rate. And then you can take some measures to optimize it. Suppose now, through the funnel chart result we have shown here, suppose now, I think that this conversion rate is low based on my prior experience as in this e-commerce industry in this product category. I think this conversion rate is low. So that what is this conversion rate? This conversion rate is from view in to adding chart. So that I think the user decreases so much after the viewing the product page. So I think maybe I can optimize to keep more users from this viewing part. So viewing, what they are viewing, they're actually viewing the product page. So some methods might come up in your mind. It might be changing the product detail, the picture page of the product detail page, or some product description of your page. So no matter what measures you want to take, you might want to maybe take an A/B test together. So A/B test is like to just change one variable and other things remain the same. So now you might want to get a new set of data, just changing maybe the product detail picture page, and other things remains the same. Other things like like the external link, the advertisement you put to other website, that other variables remain the same. Only changing the variable that we think can influence this viewing part, the product picture maybe. And then you can do the A/B test. The A/B test, changing only one variable, and then maybe you can generate a new data. So now we have used our current data. This is our old data to generate this funnel chart, and we think the conversion rate is low. And then we use the A/B test to generate some data. Again, it's a new data. And we can use this new data to do the funnel chart again, and then to observe if the variable, if changing the product detail page product picture really helps us to improve the conversion rate or not. We can check that. So now we can actually use our new data to do this funnel chart again. So suppose we have got our new data. I'm going to import the new data here. Also, Louis will send the new data to our chat box. You can also use it if you want. Here, I'm also using the local Excel for convenience. You can also download it to upload it. New funnel. Okay. And this is our new data, right? And now I want to create a new component based on our new data. Now I think you know how to do it because the operations steps are exactly the same as we did before in our old funnel chart. Maybe I can change the name as the new funnel chart, maybe. Remember, I have choose the data. I have choose this new funnel chart, and I want to do exactly the same as our previous one. So you can just copy paste. You don't need to do it from scratch to write it from scratch. You can just copy paste. For example, here I'm going to not copy like this. This copy is copying to the current components. I'm going to copy this one, copy the formula inside, and then go to the component part, write again, total sessions. Okay, this is total sessions, and then previous stage sessions. Window function, you don't need to write it again, just to copy it. This is the previous. Okay, I'm just copy it. This is the field name. This is the previous stage sessions. And finally, the conversion rate. Just copy it. Oh, here, copy it. And here you can see we must get some errors here. Let me explain here. Conversion rate. Because this previous stage session are actually coming from the funnel event from our old data, but now I'm going to use my new data. So choose it again here. Choose it again here. Total sessions. Okay. And funnel chart, etc. Other settings are the same. To drag your event, your total sessions, and your conversion rate, and then descend by total sessions. So we can make the very similar funnel chart. Also, if you want to optimize this process more quickly, you can also use this one here. We have this copy components function, copy. You can just copy it, so you don't have to do extra settings to your funnel chart again, but you need to replace the data. You can also use this. Okay, so here I have got my new one, conversion rate to the label. And then I will see that, okay, my conversion rate here, let me change it to percentage. My conversion here from viewing to from viewing to adding to cart, it seems that it has increased. So maybe our A testing really helps us to prove that optimizing the picture, the product picture in the product detail page really helps us to improve this funnel chart. Of course, because now we're just doing it based on some fake data. It's not very real industry data. So the situation might different from your industry. So here we are focusing on the funnel chart on the calculation result itself, but for the your industry might have your industry features, so you can take that into account. Okay, so this is my second goal, the funnel chart. And remember, we also have the last one, retention. Last goal, retention and cohort analysis. And since the time is limited now, I will not do it in our live video, live broadcast, but we will record it later and we will also editing our video and upload it to YouTube. So later you can check it in the YouTube for the whole dashboard making, including the third goal, retention and cohort analysis. Now I'm just gonna skip it. So the first two part has been completed, and now I'm going to add in it to a dashboard. Here, this is the dashboard, this purple icon. We have already made this green icon. This green icon is the components, tables and charts. Now I want to create a dashboard and put all my components. You can just select it, drag it to the canvas. So the dashboard is the final thing that we will show to others, because dashboard will always composed of many tables and charts, and you can adjust its layout. So in the FineBI dashboard, if you want to adjust the layout, you can move the mouse to its border, and when the mouse becomes a hand, you can move its location freely. And then you can also change its size, like this one, for example, change its size. And here, total users, change its size. And here, follow chart or other also change the size. Okay, because now in this live meeting, we only have these four components, right? But you know, actually, our whole dashboard includes many charts, right? For these two charts, I will record it later. And see here in the dashboard, except for the charts itself, we also have some filters here. The filters filter product category, filter registration time, filter whatever you want in the data. So except for this component here, this is the chart and tables. You can also to add some filters or some text and pictures here in the other. So here I will quickly add some filters. For example, filter the product category. Product category is a text, so I will use the text drop down here. And I'm going to use the old data, funnel events, choose the all fields. I'm going to filter the product category. So I'm going to find the corresponding field is the product category and bind it here in this field. So all the options here will be coming from this product category. And I want to change the filter name as the product category. Okay. Okay. And you can also change its size like this. Okay, so this is just one filter. Of course, if you want to add other filter like the registration time is a year, right? Product category is a text. Registration time is a time, year, month, day, or period. You can also change that. So all these filters you can all find here. The category, the filter component is categorized as time, text, tree, and value. Value is the number. You can choose based on your own data field type. Okay. So normally when we add some charts, we have already done. Add some filters, we want to have some title, maybe title. So other text component, this is the title, customer, maybe customer behavior analysis. And you can change its size, location, Also, sometimes you may want to add some image is also here, image or some tab is all here in the other components. So here in the dashboard, apart from the title, you might also want to, the whole style, right? For example, this is the prototype provided by your UI team, by a UI designer, and you see the UI designer must give it some appropriate colors, like the chart colors here, and some background color of the dashboard, background color of this filter. All those things you can go into the dashboard style to adjust it for all the charts, all the filters, not set for one single chart. So I'm going to go to the dashboard style. This is the preset style you can use. The preset style is provided by our product itself, but I think more of the occasions you want to customize by yourself. So I'm going to customize it, custom, and you can set your dashboard, dashboard background, the component padding. Maybe I want you the component to be far, to be further or close. No component padding. So here, like very near, right? This is the component padding. And some series color, especially for the charts. Because your dashboard usually have many charts and you want to unify the chart colors. At that time, you can uniform that in here in the dashboard style, the universal setting. So here actually based on the UI team, the color setting they give to us, I already know the color code of the chart colors. So I'm just copying it here and set. This is the first one. And the second one is this one. This is the color code. And this one is the third one. And this one is the last one. Of course, you can continue adding your fifth, your sixth. But since in my chart here, in my dashboard, actually my funnel chart only have 4 series, right? So I can just give it 4 colors. That is enough. It should be based on what kind of series, how many series you have in your dashboard. And maybe filter component. Here, I also want to give it style for the filter, for this filter. This color, I can give it a theme, maybe gray, or use the color code provided by the UI team. This is the theme color. And now you can see after changing the theme color, you will have this border, this background in the drop-down box. And then remember to click OK to save your changes. And also, when you put this dashboard for others to preview, you're not sure. Sometimes you're not sure what kind of device they are going to use to preview your dashboard. So here we can also change the adaptation. Here you are seeing my computer screen, and I'm using this display just adapted to my computer. But sometimes you want to fix size, you can choose fixed size, universal desktop browser. So you can see the size will be changed. You must see the changes. Okay. So this is the whole dashboard. And finally, we might want to give a summary because all the goals, all the analysis we have done today, we must give it some findings, right? Exactly what kind of findings we find today. So maybe you want to use a text again to maybe put it here. And in this text, you can to explore your findings. Maybe how many users are in your website? A total of how many users? And what is the time period? And the users go into the website to do what kind of event, click view. So you can give an overview of this dashboard. What exactly you are doing with your dashboard, so you can show your end users to know better about your dashboard. Okay, here the table part. And now We have explained our definition before already. We will calculate the time interval between the registration time and the earliest event time. Registration time, we already have the data field. We don't have to calculate, but how to calculate the earliest event time? Here, we will use the summary column in the data transforming to do it again. Remember earlier in the bounce rate analysis, we also used the summary column. Here, we will use it again. So I will go to my BI part here. And here you can see this is my old data funnel chart. And here I have already do it actually using this summary column here, using this summary column. And what's in the summary column? We can check it here. I'm going to group by the user ID because I want to get the users, every user's earliest event time, and summary by the event time, the earliest time. So this is how I get it. So here you can see in our data part, we already have the earliest event time, year, month, day. Okay, so now that we have got this field and we can just go to the component part. Suppose now you have already created a component. As we created earlier, you can add component, and create your component for the retention analysis. Now I have already created, and I have already renamed it as the retention table. And I'm going to use also my old data funnel chart to do this. Funnel chart. So now I want to get the time difference between registration time and earliest event time. Also, we can do it by multiple ways. One method is that you can just add a calculation field here, use some date function to calculate the date difference between two date fields. For that one, you must be familiar of which function you are going to use and the grammar of how you can use the function. So here we are going to use another more convenient way to get the time difference. We can go back to our data transforming part, and here is actually is hidden here. It's not that easy to use. In the more, we have got this time interval. Well, you can just use this visualization page to get the time difference. Time difference. And then what data field you want to calculate the time difference? I want to calculate the time difference between my earliest event time and the registration time. So here, registration time and earliest event time by year, month, day, what kind of unit? Maybe days or month, you can define it. Now I'm going to use the days. Okay, so now I've got this time difference field, this time difference field. But here, you see, because we use the registration time minus earliest event time, so we'll get this minus, right? So I will just switch it. Switch it, earliest event time and registration time. Okay. And now that we have got the time difference, we can go back to our component to visualize it. I have got the time difference. And now, actually, my final result will be like this. This is the table. And if we take a look at the table, we'll find what kind of field we want to visualize here. Let me just show you in our actual demo made by this FineBI. Here is actually already demo here. And you can check this is the final result I want to achieve now. And here we have visualized it by a table, actually group table. And the group table has some data fields now, here registration time. And here, these four indicators actually are all the retention rate within a different time period, within 19 days, within 180 days, within 270 days, and 360 days. So why I choose this time difference? Because that is based on your data. Because I find that by observing our data, I find that most of the users will make their first event very long after they registered on the website. So this is why I have this very large time here, 6 days, 180 days. So based on your data, you can also adjust it. very flexible. So now our question is how to calculate these 4 indicators, the retention rate within 4 different time period. So actually, what is this retention rate? For example, return with 90 days. This is the retention rate within 90 days. What is the formula to calculate it? Or within 180 days, that is more than 90 days, but within 180 days. So to calculate it, our definition actually is that users who come so within these days from 90 days to 180 days, that is the time difference, the time interval we just calculated is between this time interval. Then this is a client who returned, or this is not a return client. So these are to calculate, this is to calculate the number of the retention clients or the return clients, and then divide it by all the users we have in the website. So this is the retention rate. And if you want to calculate it, do it in FineBI. Also, again, add calculation field. And then I will just show you how I write it. Because the way actually is very similar with what we explained before. Here, again, I will use the count D. Here, I will use the count D, not count. Because now I want to use the distinct user. One user is one record. So I will use the count D, distinct count. This is the total users. This is the total users. And this one, I will use it to calculate the return users. So here, again, I'm going to use the if. To judge if the interval is between 90 and 180 days, because this is the retention rate for this time period. So, and if it's actually in this time interval, I will give it a count. So I will just give it the user ID and then to count the user ID. If not, again, I will give it a null, so it will not be counted here. So that is also very similar to what we used earlier. We also used the count and if, and remember earlier we used the is now and then etc. So that is the same. So this is to calculate the retention rate between this time interval, and similarly, the rest of the other three indicators, also the same way. But the only difference, for example, 90 days, the only difference is to change the if condition because our time interval is different, right? So the only difference is this. So that's now we can calculate these 4 indicators here, and just drag it to the table or just to the preview area. Both is okay, and you can see the result as is shown here. And in the table, of course, we don't want to just leave the table as the original table because there are too many registration time, the first month to the last month in 2024, and also for indicators. I want the users to get some key information, so I want to also make some highlights to this table. So here, my highlight standard is that when the retention rate is more than a certain value, I want to change the background of this cell to another color. So it's very well noted that, okay, this one and this one is highlighted, right? So the user will, of course, very easy to find this information. So how to highlight this? To change all the styles or properties of tables or charts, you can all do it in the table property and component style. Here, I want to highlight for the 4 indicators. So here, you can maybe firstly, I want to highlight for this one, for this 180 days. So I will find this indicator and then I can drag this indicator to the color. That is, I will change the color by the value of this indicator. So, and then I will go to click this setting to edit my condition. So my condition is what? Add your condition. When the value, what is the value? The value is the field you drag here. This is the retention rate within 180 days. When the value is more than or equal to 0.5, I will give it a color here, background color or text color. I will give it a pink background color. Okay. So this is how we highlight in this table. Okay, so this is how we do this retention table. And next, the cohort analysis. Also, like we explained before, our cohort analysis here want to group the user by what? By the first event year. So again, here we want to get the first event year, and the final result will be like this here, like this picture. You can see we divide the event time to three groups, to the quarter, actually, by the quarter. The first quarter, the second quarter, the last quarter, by the event time. And then you can see there is a column, but the column has different color. For example, let's check the second quarter. The second quarter has two colors. What is these two colors? These two colors actually marked the different earliest event time. So we can see that for this color, you can see this is like a blue purple color. This color is for users who whose event time is the first quarter, and then we give the color in here. So that you can see in the second column, we also have this color. This color is the same, right? Is the same, right? So that means these two are like the same, the users of the same characteristics. They have the same earliest event type. Both is the first quarter. So it's like the explanation for this column, for the second column, is like in the second quarter, all the users, there are 16 users who has already have the event time in the first quarter here. So 16 users comes from the users who already had the event time from the first quarter, and the rest one, we also have another 70 users who make the event time here in the second quarter. So it's like we categorize the users by some shared characteristics. Here, the shared characteristics is the earliest event time. So here again, we need to calculate the earliest event time. So earliest event time, actually, you know what? We have calculated before, right? In the retention table. So you can also use it, continue using it. Or I will also share another way to calculate it here. So earlier we calculated the earliest event type in the data transforming tab, but we can also just calculate it in our component area using the calculation field. So here, actually, if you want to do that, you need to use the diff function. Diff means define, diff function. Okay. So diff function, what is this function like? Actually, if you want to learn more about the diff function, in our YouTube, we already have some more detailed teaching material. You can check here. You can just search the YouTube. This is our YouTube channel, Fine Software, and here, this is the diff function. Actually, later after the webinar, you can go to check it yourself. So now I'm not going to explain the really deep into the diff function. So I'm just going to tell you here, the function meaning is that to calculate the minimum event time, that is the earliest event time, right? By every user. That is every user's earliest event time. So this is actually, if you test it, you might see that the result is the same as we use the summary column here, earliest event time. That is actually the same. Okay, so this is how we achieve it. It's achieve the cohort analysis in the FineBI. So if you want to show me, I can show you here in FineBI. Here you see my horizontal here. My horizontal is the event type. This is the horizontal. And I have changed my horizontal event type to a group of year quarter. Here you see. So here, 1 is the first quarter, 2 is the second quarter, and 3 is the third quarter. And the vertical is the number of users. Remember how to calculate the number of users? Earlier we have calculated it, right? Because in the first one, the key indicator, we have calculated the total users using the count D user ID. This is the same field, count D user ID to get the number of users. But here, our dimension, because our dimension has 3 quarters, so it will be divided into these 3 values. This is the number of users in each year quarter event time. And I will not just leave it as a column, but using the color, right? And now I want to categorize the users by the earliest event time. So here I'm going to the property. In the color part, I will also use the earliest event time to fill in this color. So earliest event time, by this div function, we can also use it at calculation field and write your div function. That is another way to do it. Here you see this is an f div minimum event time by the user ID. Okay, so just drag this field to the color. So by this way, we can categorize each column with different color. See if you here we will also change it to the year quarter. See if I just remove it, the column chart will have just one single color, right? I can get nothing, no information from this chart. I want to see the shared characteristic of the user or this event type. So drag it to the color, and then by default, its grouping method is year, month, day. So you can see so many, right? So many colors. I just want to observe its earliest event type year quarter. So again, year quarter. Okay, so that is our cohort analysis. Okay, so this is I show you how we do it, do the retention table and the cohort analysis in the FineBI, the components. And finally, we have finished the 3 parts. And previously, we have already put the funnel chart, total users, bounce rate in the dashboard already, right? So now we only have to add retention table and cohort analysis to the dashboard again, and to adjust the layout and something else. So suppose now I'm using this ongoing dashboard, go back to the dashboard, and maybe here your retention table is ready, your cohort analysis ready, to add it again from here. That is enough. And adjust the dashboard style, the adaptation, etc. The layout, you can drag it and adjust. Okay, so that is how to achieve the complete dashboard. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.